All right. So, guys, just a little introduction. I'm Matt Milograno. I coach up in New York for a D3 college in Albany for the men's team. And then I run a goalkeeper academy called BLGK. We kind of focus on training high school and college goalkeepers, just getting them to the next level. And then I have a couple clubs that I coach with. So, always staying around the game and, really trying to make as many goalkeepers better as I can. I don't know if you guys have met, you guys have probably done a session with Coach Brett. So I'm not sure if he wants to do a little introduction of himself or.
Cool. Guys, hey, my name is Coach Brett. I think I've seen a couple of you guys on a few presentations, either ones I watched or I may have talked on them. From the US, grew up in New York, played college, ended up playing pro overseas in Germany. I was a late goalkeeper. So I didn't start playing goalkeeper till college. So I was a midfielder, and I still tell everybody I'm a midfielder. Because I think I still overall I played more years midfielder than I did goalkeeper, but I'm both. So I've coached college, pretty much every division. I'm currently head coach of a semi-pro men's team up here in Baltimore. And same thing, we work with goalkeepers. I think the youngest one I'm working with right now is 8, and then all the way up through a couple of pros. So kind of everything in between. So we try to get out and do as much as we can. And we do some coaching education stuff, kind of long distance. I coach a lot of guys out in California as well. So anyway, that's kind of who we are. We've been, we're old guys. We've been around the game a long time. And the big thing today is we got kind of we got 3 of us here. We got Addie, Emily, and Andrew. Addison, you go by Addie or do you go by Addison?
Both is fine.
Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. This presentation is set up really to have stuff for younger kids and some stuff for older kids. Most of you guys, how old are you guys? You guys all look like kind of in the 11, 12, 13 range. Is that where are we at? Is that accurate? All right. 11 for Addie. Andrew, where were you at?
11.
11. Okay. Emily?
12.
12. Okay. So here's the way we'll do it. Since we got a smaller group, we can kind of go as deep as you like. Like the way this presentation is set up, we can kind of get into some older stuff. So if we're going through stuff and you have some questions or you want to see, hey, what's the next level of this for the older ones, we'll give you a little bit. I don't want to overwhelm it because it ends up getting into a lot of details. But if you want to dig a little deeper, just tell us. And because we got 3 here, so we can kind of do what we want. Can you guys all see the screen now with it says goalkeeper responsibility? It's supposed to say transitions as well, but can you guys see that? Cool. All right. So let's get started. There's going to be a couple areas here. And these first couple pieces, we'll just kind of introduce, but I really want to get into kind of asking questions and all that kind of stuff. Have you guys kind of be a little interactive, so you don't have to just sit back and listen. But we'll hit here. So the foundation of learning, there's, at least when we teach it, there's a couple areas: terminology, some of the key concepts, and then phase of play and area of play. And you may have had some of this from your club. It really kind of depends. So we're going to find out a little bit. Some of the terminology, guys, when we're talking, I'm going to freely admit this presentation is one that we give to kids who have been training in our system, our methodology. So one of the things that I want to make sure that we do is there's going to be some things at some point. I'm going to be mentioning something that's maybe different than how your team does it or how your coach does it. Ask questions, because a lot of this stuff, even though I'll show you how it applies in one direction, we can also talk about, hey, this is how it would apply for your team, or this is how it would apply for you at training. Okay. So if you see something that just seems a little different than how your team does it, ask questions. Okay. And we'll get into it. All right, so terminology, I always start there. Let's start simple. Okay, so these are some of the ones, there's a lot of terms that we could go over, but these are some of the ones that'll have the most important part about talking about transitions. Why don't we start with first just saying, let's see what a transition is. All right, so can everybody see that? Andrew, why don't you go ahead and read it for me? Just the stuff in the circle.
Transitions are the few seconds between offense and defense or defense and offense. Accuracy and speed are the goals.
Okay, so tell me just kind of even before we get into it, you guys tell me just from those sentences, what are some things that are popping out in your mind? What do you know about transitions already? And then how do anything in that circle kind of tie to what you know? Emily, how about you? We'll start with you. We'll put you on the spot. Right.
Like what stood out to me is defense and offense and offense and defense.
Okay, so does everybody kind of, can you think of, in a game or in a practice, can you guys think of those moments where, so there's clearly a moment where an offense and we're attacking, and then we lose the ball. We're not quite organized yet for defense, but the other team isn't quite organized yet for offense either. Like we're both trying to get into our new positions. Defense is coming back, forwards, everybody's getting into their shape while they're trying to change to whatever they do offensively. Can you guys kind of visualize in a game, every team's a little different. Probably your age is probably more like, 8 to 12 seconds to change back and forth, truth be told. Is that, do those moments ring a bell with you? Addie, how about you? Is that, yep, Andrew says, yeah. Addie, is that, can you remember moments in the game where you're like, all right, we're right in this in-between section here? Okay, good. Emily, same thing? Cool, so that's the part we're talking about. And this is one of the areas that I'll tell you as we kind of get into it. This is a huge area that distinguishes average goalkeepers from good goalkeepers from great goalkeepers. It's these two moments. How do I switch from offense to defense? And how do I switch from defense to offense? And this is a time where you're going to see a lot of things are important. But up here, so I put the three biggest factors in transitions. The accuracy of the transition. Does the forward go where the forward's supposed to go? Does the defender know where they're supposed to go? Do you know where you're supposed to go? How fast we get there? And then direction. And what I mean by direction is I really do mean communication. But the reason I didn't put the word communication up there is because communication is like a conversation. And because these transitions happen so fast, and because you as a goalkeeper have the best seat in the house for this particular moment, this is really your time to take control of the team and say, you've got to get here. I need you there. You watch this player and step in here. So you're giving a lot of instructions for maybe 5 to 10 seconds. Does that make sense? Everybody with me so far? Cool. All right. So these terms here we're going to get into, but this is a goalkeeper. So a lot of the goalkeepers we have, and this will be a term that I'll try to clarify for you guys, and then you guys can kind of apply it to yours. We talk about the goalkeepers specifically in transition. They have to organize the core and they have to organize the periphery. Those probably don't mean much to you. Does anybody have any idea what those words mean? I mean, I know what the regular word means, but in terms of soccer. Andrew, you got an idea? Do you guys use that term with your team? Either of those terms?
We do not, but I think like the core is where the ball is, or like around the ball, the place around the ball, and the periphery is maybe the outsides where maybe the run's coming in.
Okay, you got parts of it. You got parts of it. We'll hit on it in a second. Sounds good. Emily, same. Is that kind of your first thoughts on it as well, or anything different? All right, let's. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Here we go. So let's. All right, so let's talk about this. This will be where some of the terms come in. Strong side, weak side, and core. All right, so for you guys, I'm going to show you two different ones because you guys are all about the age where you can switch. Everybody see the field right there? All right. So at the beginning here, one of the things that we do, and we do this with field players as well. I do it with the young kids and I do it with the pro team. We divide the field. If you kind of look at it, I know the field goes left to right instead of top to bottom, but if you can kind of see where the soccer ball is, that would be the goalkeeper's perspective. That would be you. And then it works across to the right. If you notice, we've got it kind of laid out in a way like a checkerboard. So if you look at the top, you see all the way across from sideline to sideline, that's as high as the goal box. We call that level A. Does everybody see the A at the top on the sideline? Goes all the way across. And then B is the next one, kind of splits the difference between the goal box and midfield. And then C is the last one that's in your half. So A, B, and C are in your half. Those are the three levels that go up to midfield. And then D, E, and F go on the other half. Does that make sense? Everybody following so far? All right, if you now notice these yellow lines, okay, these yellow lines kind of make these big lanes. One's down the left side, one goes right down the middle, and then the other one goes down the right side. As you get older in our system, those two outside ones get divided again. So for example, right now, we label that left side, we call that channel number 1. Okay. We call the middle one channel number 3, and we call the right one channel number 5. So there's no even numbers yet. Even numbers are when you get a little older, and we'll add in 2 and 4. So for example, Andrew, if we were, let's say this was a goal kick, we're kicking off kind of where the ball is. And let's say we had a forward, let's say we had a center forward right by the kickoff spot, but right in, just barely in our half. What zone would he be in? And we count the zone as kind of where the two come together.
The attacker is by the ball.
Attacker, well, let's put, can you see my little arrow?
Yes.
Okay, where the arrow would be. Let's say it's the center forward.
He would be in channel 3 and zone C.
Yeah, perfect. And this is a nice thing why we switched it up with letters and numbers. So each team, most of the teams I've worked with call this 3C. Okay, but if your team, we've seen some teams, they call it C3. They change it around. The nice thing is it's not very confusing because I can't really mix up the letters with the numbers. Does that make sense? Where would my Emily, if I had a right defender, where would they probably line up on a goal kick?
Probably.
And I'll put my arrow down there.
A.
Yep, A. And then do you remember the number for the far right side?
It's 5.
5. Yep. Remember all odd numbers at the beginning. So 5A. Okay. All right. The only reason I say that is it'll help a little bit in the discussions as we go down the road a little bit, is if you have some familiarity with this. The circle right now, this is how we describe formations. Most people, this is probably a difference with your team. You probably describe them in 3 lines. A line of defenders, a line of midfielders, and a line of forwards. Is that correct? Okay. When we explain it in terms of a core and a periphery. So the core is here, and this is one of the things we talked about. The core is always in channel 3. It never moves left or right. Okay, so a little different, Andrew, than what right around the ball. Sometimes the ball could be in the periphery. And then the periphery is basically that whole donut around the court. It's left of it, it's right of it, it's also above it and below it. Is that, at least for terminology, and don't worry about trying to understand every little detail, but if I say the core now, do you have an idea what we're talking about? Okay. What players, Eddie, we haven't heard from you. Name some players that would be in the periphery on your team. Andrew, you got one? Yeah, we can do it. Let's do it all together. Andrew, go ahead. Who would be in the periphery?
My wingbacks.
Wing backs for sure. Yep, absolutely. Definitely periphery player. Who else? Let's kind of go through all of them. Let's see if we can place them in one or the other. How about, oh, go ahead, Addie. Sorry.
So like our wide defensive midfielders.
Okay. Where would you put them in the periphery or in the core?
I kind of put them in between a bit.
Okay. Okay. We'll talk about that because there'll be some positions that kind of are a little bit of in-betweeners. How about a forward? Where would a forward go? And what do you think? Core or periphery?
Corner.
Okay, forwards actually. So here, follow my thing right here. Really, this one will be a nice easy way. This part is all. If you think about your formation, this is going to be pretty much all center mids. Okay, so that means defender. If you play with an outside mid, if you play with a forward, all of these guys are in the periphery.
Oh, I thought you meant the other team's attacker.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, other teams could definitely be in our core. Yep, you're right. Ours, so you see kind of this looks a little bit like a donut. And a lot of times, like we'll tell kids attack the donut hole. Okay. So it'll be a term that we use in our methodology, but you've got at least it gives you an idea, reference point of how it kind of ties into the three lines that you might be playing. We won't spend any time, but here's the same example for older kids. So remember we said we added in the two even numbers. So there's just two new swim lanes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the core is still this. This is still the core right here. This is still the periphery here. Does anyone know what this is called?
The middle.
Close. A lot of it is the middle for sure. This is something, if you've ever heard the term half channel. So if you watch some like a European game, an EPL game, you'll hear them talk about half channels. So this is a half channel. And a lot of times the half channels in England, they'll talk about just left and right. With us, it's a whole circle all the way around. Okay. All right. So let's go a little bit further. Okay. Now let's talk. This is now a little bit more about you. Vantage point. Emily, why don't you go ahead and read what's in the circle there for us?
Satisfies to role in the team, provides the best location to absorb the possible attack quickly.
Okay. So this is going to be, and we'll pull up the picture here, but look what it says on the side. It includes where you are and where you're facing. Okay, so we're going to go to this picture in a second. You'll see the goalkeeper's on a specific part of the field. We'll decide if she's right or not right. But then even in that spot of the field, you're going to see she's facing forward and a little bit to the right. Does everybody see that? But she could be facing completely backwards, running back to goal. She could be facing the left sideline, the right sideline. So a lot of it when we're talking about your vantage point is where you're standing and where you're looking. Does that make sense? It's the two combined. Okay, so this ball is clear up here. If you can follow my my cursor again, she's way up. That would be in our terminology 5F. If I were to use that, does everybody see that? That would be 5F. Okay, so a lot of stuff over here on the right hand side. One of the things you're going to see with the goalkeeper though is this is where I won't have her come clear over here and look that way, because now she might not be able to see the core or the weak side. Does that make sense? Because I wonder, your job in the team is to be able to, you've got to be able to see everything. Strong side is where the ball is. So that's kind of like what Andrew was talking about, at least initially. Strong side is where the ball is. Core is this strip right down the middle. Okay, it's as wide as the circle. So if you ever need to remember, oh, I can't remember how wide it is or how big it is. It's these 4 little strips of grass because it's as wide as the center circle. Okay, and then everything on the other side we call the weak side. Why do you think we call it strong side and weak side? Andrew, what do you think?
Because the strong side, most of the time, has more of the players and the ball. The weak side most likely has less of the ball. I mean, less players and does not have the ball.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly right. Exactly right. All right, now let's look at one other thing because we're going to circle around. So you said it has the ball and it has players. What does the weak side have more of? It's not players, it's not ball. You were right. Andrew, what is it? What does it have more of?
Space.
Space. Okay. And is space valuable on offense or defense?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. So this is a lot of what becomes the job of the goalkeeper. As you can imagine, this player can't watch everything to the left and keep track of the ball. They're too close. This midfielder up here can't watch what's going on with the ball and watch everything going on the other side of the field. You guys are going to be in the perfect position to watch all 3: left side, middle, right side. If you want to call it, the strong side, core, weak side. However, the term doesn't matter as much as long as the understanding is there. Okay. So what do you think? Is she in a good position to see all 3? What do you think? Yeah, anybody, go ahead. And if not, what would you change?
I don't think she can see the weak side well enough. I would open her left hip up a little bit.
Okay.
And so she can see more of that weak side.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay. So you're saying she's kind of pointed off kind of towards through the edge of the circle here. You'd turn her more, maybe something like this, somewhere in there, and then she could see it. That's definitely one way to solve it. 100%. 100%. Emily, what do you think about how close or how far she is from her team? Just right? Not enough? Too much?
I think she's just right because I don't think she's too far up that they could like trip her or like play like a through ball or something. And I don't think she's too far back that she's not connected to her defense.
How is it? Let me ask you the same question a little different way. On your team, the way your coach wants you to play, is this similar to how they want you to be? Like if your center back is at midfield, she's pretty much at midfield, and the goalkeeper's at the top of the box. Is that how your team asks you to play?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Any differences? Like, do some coaches ask you to do, like one coach says, this is where I want you. Another coach says, I want you further up, further back.
Usually they want me like pretty far up. So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, it's a good position to be at.
Okay. Andrew, how about you? How is it compared to what your club tells you?
So I'm still playing 9v9.
Okay.
And so I kind of have to stay closer to my defense.
Yep.
And because especially at my age, there's a lot of through balls being played.
Yep.
So I kind of tend to go a little bit higher.
Okay.
But when the ball is being countered, I do drop back, but I think she's in a pretty good position.
Okay. So and I'll give you, once again, this is an opinion. So this, Coach Matt, you hop in and kind of explain your thoughts on this as well. We'll give you 2 different opinions. I'm pretty aggressive with my goalkeepers. So I tell them in terms of those lines. So this one, in terms of lines that we kind of laid out for you, she's right on the border between C and D. Does that make sense? You can kind of remember those lines going across. She's on the border between C and D. I usually ask my goalkeeper to be just barely more than 1 layer back. Okay, so that would mean she would have to be, if they're at C and D, that means I would ask her to be at B and C, which would probably be 10 to 15 yards higher. Okay, and that's aggressive. I will tell you, most of the coaches that I've seen around the world ask somewhere between where I'm saying and where she's at. somewhere in between here seems to be about right. And there are some situations they have to learn to read higher end of that section, lower end of that section. That'll be a skill you'll learn a little bit later. Coach Matt, how about you? How do you guys look at that?
Yeah, so for our goalkeepers, honestly, especially with my college guys, it's a lot of it is kind of more tailored to how they trust themselves, getting how mobile they feel they are. That's going to play a big role in it. Really is determining how much ground you can cover, how fast you are, and if you feel that you aren't as quick and you're a little bit safer dropping back, I'm comfortable with that, but I do like to have our college goalkeepers be in a position to where, taking this example, if they were to play a long ball down into one of these channels, my goalkeeper would slide over a little bit and be an option for that ball, depending on if your wing back gets there, or if it's a little bit too far, they can even go out, sweep it, and then switch the play. I kind of have taken I'm good with being aggressive, and you have to, cover that ground for your center backs and your defense. You have to be connected. So I think the aggressive approach is definitely a good way to go with it.
And it's kind of, to me, it is. So if I could intercept a through ball, say out in this area here, okay, and play it out to a defender and everything that your coaches are asking you to do, whether they're asking you to clear it, find a forward, or play it around and switch out the angle of attack. What I see it as is, if I can come up here and cut this off, I'm making a save. I'm just making it before the shot happens. Does that make sense? Because if you sat back and let them come and get it, then you're still going to have to make the save, probably on a one-on-one. And I would rather have you coming out and intercepting, clearing. It's a much easier way to keep a clean sheet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You guys, everybody agree? Have you guys had experiences where you're coming out pretty strong and intercepting those balls? Cool. All right, a couple guys, hands up. Good. I like that. All right. So let's move on a bit. So we'll kind of start going through this a little quicker now that we've got kind of a good baseline. So we've got the terminology down. Key concepts. We organize everything. So this is for us. We organize everything into through, over, and around. And that's basically every team that's going to attack you, or even when we attack another team, we're either going to go through them, we're going to go over them, or we're going to go around them. And for us, there's the priority is which one is more damaging. And what we tell our players, and I'll tell you kind of what we teach them and why. Through is the most damaging. Over is the next most damaging. And then around is the least. Okay, who's got some ideas? Why? Let's start with around. That one's easy. Why am I saying, or easier? Why am I saying around us is the least damaging? Andrew.
Because if we're going around them, then it's further away from their goal, and we're not as much of a threat.
Yep. How about, what do you guys think about time? Which one of these? Which ones are faster? Which ones are slower? Yeah, go ahead, Andrew. Yeah.
The around would take much more time than the over and the through, because the over and the through, it's one line or not as curved, and if it's more curved, it will take more time.
100%. Yeah. So the nice thing is, then on offense, we want to go through, then over, then around. On defense, we want the exact opposite. We want the other teams to go around us. If we can't force them to go around us, I still want them to go over us. What I never want is for them to go through us. Okay, so how that matters is that begins to start, that kind of starts you on the process of how you begin to organize your team, specifically for this lesson in transitions. Okay, so let's touch a little bit on them and kind of get your thoughts here. All right, so there's a little video here. So you see, that's a through. They went through. They split 2 red players. They split 2 red players again. At this moment, he's dribbling to split them. And right there, I'm going to go back a second real quick. Where is he at? At this moment, he's got the option to pass out and around all the red players, or he's got the option to come inside. So according to what we said is good for offense, what choice should he make? Yeah, Andrew, go ahead.
He should dribble through them.
Yeah, he should come inside, split those 2 red players right here. And any split, and we'll talk about this as we go, but a split causes problems. Just like when you guys do warm-ups, you know, and you do like either a rondo or a keep away, is your coach usually say for when you have 2 defenders in the middle, don't get split? Do you guys use that rule? Have you ever thought about why? Why don't get split? Yeah, go ahead, Andrew. Yeah.
Because in a game, if you get split, that's it's 2 less defenders, and they're going through. That obviously means they're going through, and it's more dangerous.
And we'll show you in the videos here in a second. There's one of the ones that's on the around that shows you a really good difference between, because there is one ball at the very end they play through, but it's a lot of arounds, and you'll see the difference in how the defenders respond. But everything you just said, 100%. It's faster for them. It's more confusing for us. Overall, not a good situation. Okay, so he comes through. Goal, done. Okay, so they had 2 or 3 consecutive through. Each one of those balls split 2 red players in one way or another. And every time we split them, we worked our way into a better shot. Okay. Now let me go, and I'm going to go through these a little bit quick, but you guys stop it. So here's the big things. Fast through is the fastest way. It causes confusion, gives the defense the least time to react, and usually the reaction is uncoordinated. Okay, so all of these things help the offense. Okay, so let's look at it over. Second fastest way, still fast, just the second fastest way. Why do I say that? Why do I say it's the second fastest way instead of the fastest? Some people ask me that question.
Because with over, if you like throw it over, it is in the air and it takes longer for it to come down and bounce, and it takes longer for them to regain control.
Absolutely, 100%. Yep, in the air longer, and then trying to control it on the other end, it takes maybe 3 touches instead of 1 or 2. Andrew, yeah, what do you got?
It's not as much as a threat, and it doesn't cause as much confusion as through, because when you're going through, it's unpredictable. And when you're going, when it's like a punt or a throw, the ball isn't just going to stop in midair or keep going.
Right. Or change directions.
So,
yeah.
It's going to come down somewhere, and if you can get your positioning good, then you can neutralize it pretty well.
Yep, exactly right. Yeah, all great answers, guys. Nice. You guys nailed that one. All right, so let's hit. Oh, I didn't show you the video. You've seen it. It's basically going to be a long ball. You've seen that one. Let's talk about this one, though, around. Slowest way to attack. We've touched on that. There's no confusion whatsoever because everything you're doing is in front of my eyes. The defense has the most time to react, and they have the most coordinated reaction. So let's I'm going to play the video for you. Listen, and I'm going to call out each one, but some of it will be obvious. But this is something we do with even our coaches when we're teaching them. All right, so they're playing. That's around. That's over. Around. 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 Okay. No, I wanted to cut off the through part. That's too bad. Let me see if we can try it again. So around, 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 around. Does everyone agree with me when I'm saying around? Here's the 3 defenders. I'm not getting any splits. I'm not splitting any of them. So I'm just going around them, around them, around them. Okay. Another around. Another around. Now here's the ball. Split. Okay. I want you to watch this one more time just for the thing, because this is important to know as a goalkeeper. Watch this time. You don't have to watch the ball this time. Watch the defenders. Okay. I'm going to call out a round, but watch if what you're looking for is how quickly do all three defenders start moving to the new position, okay? Around. 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 Now watch this one. Through. What was different? And I'm just talking about the defender's reaction. Yeah, Andrew.
They got a little bit lazy. Nobody stepped, like before, one was stepping and there was no way to split it. But now if they all came back, you just played the simple ball through.
Yep. Emily, you had a thought. What did you have?
Yeah, the defenders didn't like react at all. And they were like really slow once the ball was played through to like react to the player with the ball.
Yep, absolutely. I know this the presentation will be, I think it's made available to you guys. If you go through and watch it, what you'll see is all three turn right away on the around balls. I'm not going to say they're playing it exactly right or exactly the best, but there's not any confusion. As soon as the ball is played, they're all turning and making a new movement towards the new ball, right or wrong, but they're not confused about it. This last ball here, only one kid turns and runs while the ball is being passed. The other two turn and stand still. And then after the ball arrives, they begin to move. So there's a little pause, a little confusion, a little hesitation. Andrew, it could be right. It could be some laziness too. Okay. But the point is in terms of what you've got to do, and I've got to organize the team and I need people to react quickly. Through balls are a problem because there's going to be a natural, if it passes between me and you, we both kind of turn and look like who's supposed to go get it for a little half a second. Okay. And in that little second, if the other team's flying and moving quick, we might not catch it. With me so far on those? Okay. So the big thing to take away is we're really trying to have the teams stay away from when we're defending and organizing our defense. I don't want them to go through ever. I prefer they don't go over too much, but I'm okay with it. And I love it. Let's make them go around. Okay. Big horseshoe kind of attack. All right. I'm going to hit this one. I'm going to go a little bit out of order. This is one thing that we'll see sometimes different. So the best way for me to get the goalkeepers being ahead of the game is to think like an attacker, not to think like a goalkeeper. Of course, I say this because I was a midfielder converted. So this is part of kind of who I am. But you'll understand what I mean. So I'm going to give you some things that that soccer players know or that they learn as they go. This picture up here. Does anybody know what that is or what's special about that area? Or make a guess. What do you think? What's a guess? What's special about that area on the field?
It might be like more dangerous if they took a shot from there.
Absolutely more dangerous. And your proof is this is about, I think the number right now is 92% of all goals are scored from this area. Okay. So no matter what I do, whether I attack down the sideline and cross it in, whether I come in the middle and do combos, whether I play long balls over the middle to fast guys, this space here, we're all the different strategies are trying to get to this space here. Okay. This becomes important in a second, but this is where the goals are scored from. So this is where every strategy is trying to get to. The teams that send it all the way down and cross it, they're just trying to get it in there at the last second. Right? They're going to go down the sideline and I'm going to cross it, but I'm still coming here. Okay. The ones that come down the middle and try and combo through or put a little slip ball through, I'm trying to come and I'm trying to enter this space from the bottom for them. They're coming from the bottom. The crosses come from the side. Does that make sense? The nice thing for you as a goalkeeper, now I don't have to necessarily chase shadows all over the place because I know where you're going. I know where you're trying to get to. Okay. We'll touch on that in a second. So here's one thing that I found not as common in the US. In Europe, this was pretty common. This area here, you see what we call it? You see that label up top? What's the name of these two areas? I have one going this way to the left and another one going to the right, just to show it. This is against I tried to show on the left-hand side 4 defenders with a red player attacking, and this one's showing 3 defenders with a blue player attacking. But what are these 2 areas? What's this area and this area? What do we call it? What do we call it? At least what we call it. What do you guys think?
Kill zone?
Yeah, kill zone. Why do you think, why do we kill? It doesn't sound very friendly, does it? Why do I call it the kill zone?
Because it's where we're most likely to lose the ball.
Not necessarily. It kind of depends on how you play. So your team could lose the ball there, depending on how your coach is asking you how to play. Here's the one thing. If the ball gets here, first of all, kind of let's tie it to some ideas as we go. What channel is this in? Well, either of them. What's that?
Channel 3,
3.
and it's in either B or C.
Yeah, exactly. So it's in 3, and I'll tell you this is true even back at midfield. The way we've drawn it, you're right at kind of the edge of B and C, 100% right. But this kill zone, think about what we just said. I never want a team to split us. And let's say it doesn't matter if it's at goal, but look at every pass this person, the next pass this one is going to make. Every pass is a split from the kill zone. Does that make sense? If I pass it between these 2 defenders, it's a split. If I pass it between the 2 center backs, it's a split. If I pass it between the center back and the right back, it's a split. So if they can get to this space here, every next pass is incredibly dangerous. Okay, so what would that mean then for us as goalkeepers? What becomes a priority?
Talking to the back for making sure they close in.
That can help. What's something even before that? Kind of like your idea before of cutting off the shot before it happened. What else could you do?
Have our midfielders step and our wingbacks drop in so that split doesn't happen there. Because then if it gets played down the middle, we can come out for that. But we don't want it to go out wide because that's a sort of sin, almost guaranteed a goal.
Okay. And you're definitely touched on it. I would say, and here's the thing that we'll tell a lot of people, goalkeepers, one of your jobs, if you can, it's not always possible. If you can, don't ever let them get here. Don't ever let them get to the kill zone. Okay, so now think about what that means though, because now that means I can't just talk to my defenders, because I can't just organize these guys on this back line. Who do I have to start talking to now to stop this?
Midfielders.
Yeah, midfielder, at least one of them. At least one of them. Okay. There's other ways to handle it, and we'll cover it a little bit, but now realize, even I'll tell you right now, if I had 4 defenders and they started attacking me, me personally, I'm going to direct one of these 4 to leave the position they're in and come into here. It's that important. Like I'll pull one of the wide players because I'm okay if they go around us. So I'll pull a wide player in if I can't get a midfielder there. And I'll put them here to specifically deny this area to the other team. Matt, this is definitely something that is a little bit connected to total football. So if do you guys address this space in a different way?
Sorry. We kind of call that the half space, that they're putting these balls. So that'll be, for your example, that'll be going into either channel 2 or channel 4 on that chart.
Yep.
So one way we can kind of mitigate this is, we either step up the line, it really kind of depends on where the runners are as well. You have to kind of be aware of who the other team is, whether they're wingers or they have a center midfielder that's making an overlapping run. These are all things that you have to keep tabs on as the goalkeeper. You can see everything in front of you. It's the easiest for you to say, all right, left center back, whatever their name might be, check that guy on your left side, check him on your right side. So it comes onto us to almost be the quarterback, I guess, for a football term, to really let our defense know if they don't see what you're seeing, you have to make sure that you can cut those passes off. And even, the best case scenario would be to cut off that midfielder before they get the ball.
Yeah, and a lot of times, at least how we do it is we'll break it up. We'll say, look, the perfect answer is to stop them from getting here. And we can, if you're really good and you're really, and this is, I'm talking about as a goalkeeper, but also, for the midfielders, for the players. If we're all very, very good, we cut that off a lot. But I'll tell you, you can never cut it off always. So then you have another one of, so how do I deal with it when they do get there? And we'll cover it. But does everyone kind of understand the connection between the danger of them getting to this area? And if you think about it, even to get here, they've already violated a couple of things we're trying to do. It's pretty, you can't get here without going through us. They've split somebody to get that ball here. Okay. So we've already been making a few mistakes to let them get here. So all of these things are things that a goalkeeper can suddenly you can start adding to how we defend that by your communication and by all of that stuff. So we're going to try and hit on that. All right, here. The ball is up here. Okay, does everybody see where that is? This is a little bit of a higher level question, but for you guys, I want to talk about kind of the goalkeeper themselves. In my world, would the goalkeeper be in the right position?
No,
Where should they be?
they should be.
You tell me. I'll move it up. You tell me. You say stop.
You go. Stop.
Okay, maybe a little further back, but not. Yeah, you're in the area. Probably right around here. For me. Matt, how about you? What kind of, even if you went on the other extreme, somewhere between here and what would kind of be the least acceptable for you?
So, I would say that you guys got to at least be like top of the D. That your top of your 18 would be about
Kind of the worst.
back I'd want you in this position. Just, it'll kind of put you into the best position to set you up for success on, a long ball or whatever your next job is as a goalkeeper.
Yep, I agree. Does everybody kind of agree with that? The goalkeeper will say, and this is, I mean, mind you, I think this is a national team level game. For me, the goalkeeper is making a mistake. I think it's good to know that national team players make mistakes. I think the US made a couple of them today. I didn't watch the game. I just heard. Okay, so this goalkeeper depends on, even a coach preference, but they're all going to be somewhere between, let's say, well, if Andrew's coaching them, probably here, and then pretty much every other coach here. So somewhere in between here and here, depending on what your coach wants, what you're capable of, how fast you are, how fast the opponent is, all these details. Okay. All right. So let's go. So here's what I mean by think like an attacker. All those things that we just showed you, the picture up on the left, I know where I'm trying to get to as an attacker. I know if I can get to this area here, the kill zone, I've got a very good chance the next thing is going to be very, very good. Okay. One other thing, if I was getting picky, if I was an attacker, I'm looking for, whoops. If I'm an attacker, I'm looking for this. So I'm kind of telling you now, I'm playing the part of the enemy. I'm the bad guy. Why do I like that so much? Why do I like this in particular so much?
So you could tell your defense like to watch that.
No, but as a midfielder on the other team, so I'm attacking you now. You're the goalkeeper still. You're this goalkeeper down here, but I'm attacking you. Why does this make me really happy?
Because of how much space there is in between them. Like
And
you
look
can
look at it, what my eyes are going to see. I'm going to see a medium-sized gap by the sideline, another medium size, and a small. So I go small, medium, 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 big. This is where my eyes go as an attacker. Okay, this is the easiest one to split, is these two players here out of all your back defenders. Okay, this is what I mean by if you can think like an attacker. If you know what I'm looking for, you can look for the same thing. And you have one advantage. You don't have to manipulate the ball and control it. So you might be able to find this gap before I do. Does that make sense? If you know what I'm looking for, your job, your goal is to find it before I do. And that's not really because you're thinking like a goalkeeper. You're thinking like a midfielder or a forward. Okay. So if I can find it before they do, one, maybe I can correct it. Maybe I can tell this person, squeeze in, make it at least, I want these things to look the same, as close as possible. I want them all to look the same. So I would tell him or her, come in, come to here. 5 yards right, 5 yards right, 5 yards right. Okay, I probably pull this one in. Okay. If I can't fix it, let's say there's no time. Let's say this person's winding up to hit a ball and they found it. What could you do?
You could move to the open space so that when you cut off that option, they have no other option but to go to another space, but you're already there. So they don't really have any other options but to figure out something else out.
100%. Now this will be one that I'll tell you. So I'm going to give you a challenge. This is kind of this is a higher level detail. I work with pro keepers on this, but you can start it right now. Okay. You can begin to do it right now. I want to find out what this player here with the ball, I know what they're looking for. I want to find it before they do. And then here's the trick. So let's say I found it. I know this is the gap he wants or she wants. Everybody with me? At that point, if I can't fix it enough, guess I'm going to tell you as a goalkeeper, where do my eyes go now? I just got done looking at this. I looked here, 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 and I said, there it is. It's right there. That's the problem. Now, at that moment, where do my eyes go?
Like where the player with the ball is looking at?
I go back to watching this. In football, they say you watch the quarterback's eyes to see who he's going to pass to. So I go back to watching the ball handler's eyes. And this is what I'm going to see. I'm going to see his eyes move left to right or right to left. And at some point, he's going to move across, and then he's going to stop. Why'd he stop?
Because
He found the gap.
He found what he wanted. So I already know this is what he should find. And now if I watch his eyes and I see them spin across, and they stop right through that gap, what's the next ball that's coming?
The through ball.
It's that ball. So I can already, I knew it was the problem. I could cheat up a little bit. Okay, we'd say you should be here anyway. And now that I watch his eyes and I see him find this gap, now I can cheat a little bit more. You can't completely commit to it, but you can cheat that way. And now when the through ball comes, you jump on it the minute it leaves his foot because you knew it was coming already. Does that make sense? But it requires taking your eyes off the ball. You got to watch a lot. Like I need to look at what he's looking at. He's not looking at the ball. He's looking up at the defense. So I need to look at the defense. And I always treated my own team like they were the other team. Where would I go if I was going to beat my own team? And I'm looking for these gaps. Okay, because that's exactly what they're going to see. So I want to know what they see before they do. Make sense?
Yes, sir. But also, couldn't you just move your left center back, right a little bit more? And then if you said this gap for the left wing back is small, why don't you just move the left center back in a little bit so the through ball?
This one here?
Yes, so there's not a big as for gap. And if you move the left wing back to the right, then there will be a medium-sized gap instead of a small gap like there is on the right side. And then your back line's better, and so the through ball you can prevent it from happening.
So I love everything you just said. 100% what you just said is right. And for the way it would look, let's say we moved them in here, like you said, moved them in tighter. And so you'd have medium. This would now be medium. If this one comes in medium, and now maybe this last one over here on the sideline is big. Does that make sense? Why would I want that to be big? Why do I want this one to be big?
Because then they have to go around. They have to go to the other side.
100%. And I made it look that way. I knew what they were looking at. So to answer your question, yes, I would rather do what you just said. It's a question of how fast can you do it? If you can do it quickly and move them in, because remember, you got to do it not before he plays it. You got to do it before he looks and finds it, because he's going to find it. He's going to touch the ball, and then he's going to drive it into whatever he thinks he found. He has to be here before he finds it and make him just keep on moving and looking for something else. Does that make sense? But you're right. Your answer is actually, so what I'm saying is your answer is the ideal answer. I move him in, and I invite him to come all the way around us, the slowest way possible. I love it. Everything about what you said is fantastic. The last part of it, though, is in the moment, I don't have time. Okay. Or maybe this guy doesn't listen, or this girl doesn't listen. Okay. You say it, but they don't listen. So now, either way, we've got to get the job done. So that's when you now have to come out a little bit more and do those other things we talked about. Either I don't have enough time, or the defender doesn't have enough time. Maybe they don't listen so good. Okay. There could be a couple things going on there. But either way, I know if I can't get them to close the gap the way you described, then I have to come out and help cover it. And instead of trying to chase everything around, I didn't come out until I saw, till one, I knew it was there, and then I watched the eyes. Cool?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, who's got questions? I mean, does everything we just said, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the last one I'm going to hit, and then we're going to skip ahead a little bit. One phase ahead. So why don't we have Taylor? Why don't we have you read what's in the circle?
One phase ahead, have the solution ready for the next phase before it begins.
Keep going. Read all three.
Have your defense prepared while you are still on offense. Have your offense prepared while you're still on defense.
So this is for where you guys are at. This is probably where this is a really good lesson for you guys. Because most goalkeepers that I see at your age, even the ones that are good at organizing and talking and communicating, they don't start talking until the moment you lose the ball. And then they start screaming out instructions. Okay. What if I could move some players into an area? Because like I said, while we're still attacking, okay, I've got some players and they're taking care of offense and they're in charge of it. But there's always a couple players that are just kind of standing around. They're not really involved in the play. They're not trying to get in the play. Why couldn't I begin organizing them for defense? Because that's going to be the next thing that happens, because we're either going to score a goal and they're going to bring the ball back to kickoff and there's no rush, or we're going to lose the ball and we're immediately on defense. See what I'm saying? There's really only, and if we score a goal, I don't really have to worry about it because it's going to be a kickoff and we got forever to get organized. Okay. The only one that I need to be worried about is if we lose the ball. So does it make sense that I could start organizing while we're still on offense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So watch this video and then we're going to try and skip ahead a little bit. All right, so the ball is up on the white team, dropping it back to the keeper right now. Okay, they're knocking it around. So usually if you hit, we usually tell people by the time you hit about 3 arounds, turnovers are coming. All right, so there's the turnover. If you were the blue goalkeeper, what would you be directing them to do with the ball right now? Think about our priorities. Go ahead, Andrew.
Get into the kill zone, and so you can play those 3 balls.
Exactly. I would love it. Can I get to the kill zone? Would love to do it. And if you look, I know the little black play button is kind of blocking it, but I'll help. There's a blue player here, a blue player here, and a white player here. They do have someone in the kill zone. What's the numbers though? How many of them? How many us?
2 to 1.
2-1. We outnumber him, and even if we have to run, like even if this guy has to run a little bit quickly, or he has to move a little bit, we're gonna have 2 in the kill zone before they do. So as a goalkeeper right now, I would be directing this ball to the kill zone immediately. Okay, let's see, and watch. You'll see what they do. They get the ball secured, and look where they go. Kill zone. They go right to the 2 that I said. These are the 2 guys that I would have directed the ball to. That's exactly who they took it to right away. All right, now let's keep playing ahead. Now be the white goalie. Okay, shot with the deflection. Nobody knows what's going to happen. All right, and pause right there. Goalkeeper came out and grabbed it. Great. Where are his opportunities right now?
On his left, so our right.
Yep.
There's there's 3.
You
like,
mean low or high?
So near his box.
Okay, so back down here. Yep.
Yes. And then
Okay.
if you go left a little bit, your cursor goes left. And then up. And then a little bit. So the guy on the top of the 18 on the right.
This guy here.
Yes. If he can recognize that and go to the our right a little bit more, he can get open for the keeper, and then they can counter there.
Okay, love it. That's definitely. And here's what I would like. I want to go through this, but then I'm going to back up because this is where we're going to talk about goalkeeper. Okay, 100% definitely could go there. Who's got another place? Where else could he go? Emily, what do you think? Give me another place he could go.
He could try to maybe one of his outside backs open.
Okay, so maybe this space
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah, like.
All right, so we have the 2 low spaces, left and right. Andrew's talked about the one on the left. Okay, and we added the one on the right. Where's another space that blue can't defend? Keep looking around. There's a few. Or they're going to have trouble defending. Yeah, Andrew, go ahead.
The area like in the middle, again, the kind of top of the box.
Okay.
Right there, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1.
Okay.
And then we could build out of the midfield instead of the left back.
Yep. Definitely another option. You outnumber them, so you could go there. Let me give you one more, and all of these are right. So some of what the answer is, some of it depends on what your coach is asking you guys to do. Okay. But you want to be aware of what all of them are, and then you can know why we choose to do some and not others. What if the goalkeeper aggressively caught the ball, took a step past him, and threw the ball right here where the pointer is? If he could throw the ball right there, who's going to get to that ball first?
Probably the one on our right, that attacker on our
This one
team.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the person on his team.
Yeah, 100%. If I throw it right in this area and probably anywhere out on this line like this, he's going to be unless he's sleeping, he's going to be the first one there. So if you wanted to play a counter attack, the counter attack is on, but only if you knew that. I'm going to back up. I'll tell you. So for me, when I was playing, I would have already known that. Let's see. Even before that. As soon as this guy pushed in to take his first shot, there, I would have known right there. So this is what I mean by playing the next phase. So I've got probably a little bit before he's going to take a shot. I've got half a second to take one last check and know if he shoots it. Let's say, and right now, let's say, I don't know he's going to block it. I think I'm going to save it. If I save it, this is open. So I could catch it, step and throw, or kick, whatever your preferred way of distributing is. But I could do it if I want to. Does everybody see that? Okay. Know that it's on, and I would know that because the space is there and because he's the closest one to it. Okay, so I know it's possible. Let's see what he does. Okay, defender holds him off, keeper comes out and grabs it. He looks to the left. Andrew, he looked at the space you talked about. And here's the one interesting thing. I'm going to go back one last time. Look where he distributes it. Tell me about, you guys give me some details about where he distributes it.
Into space where they have a 3v1 or 3v2, just depending on how far that midfielder goes out. But they have numbers, and he distributes into space so they can attack, and not towards them, so they will get pressured, and so they can go pressure and build more than if you would play it to their feet.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, this is just kind of how I can tell you why he looked, because if you looked at his eyes, he looked way to the left, kind of where you described, and then he looked way to the right. He really didn't spend much time looking down the middle at all. And here's one thing, the team that he's playing, he would have known this at a pro level. You know what the team that you're playing, what formation they're going to play. What formation is this team playing, the blue team?
A 4-3-2. That's what it appears to be.
Yeah, there's one more that you probably just can't see them here, but 4-3-3. So 4-3-3. Okay. And here's one of the interesting things. So if you put it in terms of what I told you at the beginning, the periphery and the core. So they've got 3 in the core and they've got 7 in the periphery. A 4-3-3. So you can't fill every space. You don't have enough players. What's the one space that's hard to defend in a 4-3-3? On the periphery. If you kind of know your formations. Think of it, how many forwards in a 4-3-3?
There's only one fours. One like wait.
I'll count forwards and wingers as forwards. How many forwards and wingers are there in a 4-3-3? If we count them all as forwards. 3. How many defenders?
4.
And how many on the outside edge? Like just pure sideways. Kind of like what an outside mid would be. How many of those?
2.
3.
4.
Look real quick. Here's the outside mid position right here. How many?
0.
0. How many on this side over here? I got my screen here with the, sorry. Let me pause it. How many
5
over
minutes,
here?
guys, 5 minutes.
Yep. How many right there? 0. So this is where the goalie would have known coming into this game, or what I'll tell you guys, because you usually won't know what the other team's doing. One of the things you guys can do is, when's a good time to see what the formation of the other team is?
At the beginning of the game.
Yep, kickoff. They advertise it for you. They go line up exactly in the formation they're trying to play. So this is one thing I always tell goalkeepers, watch specifically at kickoff. Go watch how they line up, because they're giving you answers of where you will need to look. So in this case, I know this whole area is going to be open a lot on this team. And I also know this whole area is going to be open a lot on this team, because it's not naturally covered by their formation. Does that make sense? So now their formation starts to give me ideas of where I could look to distribute. Anyway, they distribute there. Look how long it takes them to get pressure on the ball. They got all the way up to midfield before blue could even apply any kind of pressure. And then look where they switched it to. They went from one outside mid position to what?
The other.
The other outside mid position. Okay. The other area that they can't. So this is where, and I don't mean to get overly confusing. I want you guys to think these are the types of things that you can get into, where you can these details can begin to mean some things to you. Let's do one of these, because we're right at the end of time. So I'll give you an example. Okay. We put through, over, and around. I put a game down here that's maybe closer to some of your guys' age. Okay. So I'm gonna ask you, sorry, skip the question, just so you know. Okay, where are you? Where are you facing? What are you watching? What and when are you communicating? So in this video here, you're gonna be the goalie for white. Okay, and it's just a picture, so it's not a video. Take a look at it and think about some of the things that we've been doing. Okay, start with the goalie. Is the goalie in the right place?
No.
No.
What would you change?
I
He
think
needs to
so.
come.
Uh,
He's facing the right way. He just needs to step up.
Okay, maybe a little bit further. Yeah, I'd probably only change it, me personally, I'd only change him to about here. And here's the bigger problem. I don't have as much of a problem with how far out or not he is. What's my bigger problem? What's his main, what zones is he supposed to be checking with his eyes? So for him, the ball is on the right channel. What are the two channels that he's supposed to be organizing?
A and B.
Yeah, the core, yeah, left and middle. So can he see left and middle right now?
No.
Probably not. And one of the reasons you probably know he's not, because wouldn't you think if he was, he would be screaming his head off about this guy here?
Yes.
And this guy doesn't see him because he's looking at the ball. This guy is already marking somebody. So this guy is going to keep running unless somebody does something. And then you have to hope he never finds it, because if he does, we're in trouble. Okay. What would you do, just out of curiosity? Let's say you got in this situation. Let's say you were paying attention to all these things. Okay. What would you change? How would you fix this problem? You don't have a lot of time. How would you fix it?
I would make my defenders force him outside so he can't play that ball into the kill zone.
Okay.
And then I would have the person that you said before, the guy running back who's looking at the ball,
This one?
be yelling at him to mark the person in the middle.
Okay.
And then if we force him into the corner, it's a 2v1 in the corner, and
Yep.
there's nothing much that should come out of it.
Okay, I like it. No, I like that you're dealing with keeping his eyes down, because there's two ways to solve it. Get his eyes down so that he can't find him. And then I can also ask him to recover. What would you do? And this is for anybody. What would you do? So let's say we're going to do that. We're going to tell these guys to keep his eyes down and push him wide. We're going to tell this player to come back, but let's say he doesn't listen because he's just so dialed in on watching the ball. What's your plan B?
Have one of the two, the person on the right, our rightish, like to the most, out of the two people like that seem to be pressing the ball.
These two here.
Yes, the person kind of on the right, that person.
Okay.
I would have him drop off.
Okay.
And so, because the kill zone, like you said, is very dangerous. We'd rather have a one-on-one, especially if you have trust in that defender. Then I would rather have a one-on-one and everybody's covered than have a 2-on-1, and then if he plays that ball, they're in the kill zone. And that's almost definitely a goal.
And here's the cool thing for you guys, where you guys are at. It doesn't even matter if your way right now, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. What matters is that you come up with an answer and you have a reason for it. And then you can try it in a game. What the advantage of calling him off would be, like you said, you're going to hopefully plug up the kill zone. What's the downside of calling him off?
We don't have the advantage defending.
Yeah, you don't have the advantage defending. So now that really starts to become a question, is this defender better than he is an attacker? If he's better defender than he is attacking, maybe he can handle it all by himself. If this guy's better than he's better attacking than he is at defending, I better keep this guy here. Right? We better have 2v1 because he's a tough guy to handle. Okay, or a tough girl to handle. So these are all things that at the end of the day you will be in charge of deciding. All I try to tell our kids at your guys' age, at 11, 12, 13, it's not, we have no expectation that you are going to solve all these problems quickly and accurately every time. What I will tell you is it's kind of, I don't want to say job because I don't like using that word in sports, but it's your responsibility to begin working on those skills, because it takes a while. It takes a while to get all these things down and to have the priorities down. So right now, your job is to have a reason for what you do. Try to tie it to some core lessons. It could be the ones that we talked about tonight, or it can be ones that your coach is giving you. And then over the next 5 to 8 years, you are going to get better and better and better at these things. Where you're standing, how quickly you identify this guy being a problem. Like right now, he hasn't even figured it out yet. So maybe he's not even gonna know it's a problem until the guy gets all the way here. Maybe as you get better at it, maybe you knew it was a problem when he was clear back here. Does that make sense? That's kind of your goal. All right, that's cool. I know Eric said we're kind of at time, so you guys, let me open it up. Questions from you guys. It's a lot of information. I know we tried to skip over some things, but I know we still kind of got into some detail.
1 minute for questions, guys. 1 minute, then just wrap it up. Thank you.
Anybody? So if you guys, that's great. If what you guys take away from today is a couple details on, all right, I'm trying to think one step ahead. If you can take something away about your positioning, where you should be, not necessarily coming over to the post so much. Remember, you are always in charge of core and weak side. So you need to be in a position where you can see those things. And then if you can start getting into looking ahead, can I anticipate what the offense is trying to do? And we gave you some hints. One big one is they will always try to get to that kill zone. So can I just start by preventing that or dealing with it when they do? And that's huge. That's good for me. Coach Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, you guys asked a lot of good questions. You brought a lot of good information to the discussion tonight. I think one thing for me is, going forward for you guys in your games, in your trainings, reflect on you do something new in a training session, see how it worked. If it didn't work, see what didn't work, do a little bit of problem solving with some of the tools we've given you and some of the tools your coaches are going to give you, and just try new things and see what works for you, what doesn't. If you find yourself on a Saturday morning watching the Premier League, put yourself in that goalkeeper's shoes, see what situations he's dealing with. Or if you're watching the Women's Premier League, same thing. See what they're dealing with, what they did under certain circumstances, and just kind of apply that to what you would do as a goalkeeper and visualize yourself in that same position. And I think that'll really kind of help your guys' development as you get older.
Yeah, great stuff, guys. Really good questions. Really nice answers. You guys actually were a little bit ahead of even what I was expecting. So that's great. Your coaches are working with you guys pretty well. So keep it up. We're always available. I think obviously we went through only parts of this. So I think Eric makes this available. If you want to go back through it in more detail, it's available to you. Go through it. And if you have any questions, you can always email me anything, whatever you need. That's the cool thing about this whole group. I think most of the coaches are pretty open to actually helping if you send a message off. So we'll do what we can.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.